I'm today going to talk about men's rights, need of men's rights in India. And the first question that comes to our mind is about why there is a need of men's rights in what we call as the patriarchal system in a country like India. To talk about this, I would just like to go through certain identities that we associated with the genders. Identities associated with the female gender and identities associated with the male gender. So, the females, we have the name woman and the corresponding analogous word is man. Then we have something called as the pronoun for she, there is a word he. Then we have the word beautiful, there is an analogous word handsome. The word wife has husband, mother has father. Now the question is, there is something called as misogyny associated with women. Now is there anything that can be analogous and associated with men in the same form? You are going to do this. Do we have that idea? I mean, do we know about it? Now to do that, I would just like to discuss about the definition of misogyny. Maybe that would help us to understand what the men might be having similar to misogyny. So the definition, it is called as dislike of, contempt for or ingrained prejudice against women. It is also when we bind a woman with her traditional roles of caretaker, as dictated by the system that we have been living, called as a patriarchy. So that brings us to the question, is there anything, any emotion, any behavior which can be called as dislike of, contempt for or ingrained prejudice against men? If somebody tries to bind a man through his traditional role of protector or provider, then what do we call it? If we are unaware of it, the word is misandry. Now, misandry, what is misandry? Misandry is whenever we ask a man to man up to a task. Whenever we judge a man's worth by his ability to protect or provide, that is misandry. Whenever we go hunting for real man, that is misandry. Whenever we ask a young boy not to cry like a girl, that is misandry. By the way, crying is the only genderized emotion that we have, because it is associated with weakness, and weakness, a weak man, means less manly, his manhood is questioned. When a woman cries, the whole world comes to know about it. But if a man cries, he wishes that he himself should not come to know about it, because there is an immediate association of being weak with it. Now, since when is misandry around us? Probably since the time misogyny has been. To talk about it, I would like you to go through one particular story from the Mahabharata, the story of Shantanu. Shantanu was an all-powerful emperor. He was the ultimate king, an unquestioned emperor of those times. When he wanted to get married, he proposed marriage to Ganga. Ganga accepted his proposal only on one condition, that he will never question her actions. Now I know there are a lot of women who would like that their husbands take such kind of oaths in today's day as well. But talking about Mahabharata, Shantanu agreed in all good faith to the promise, to the condition that she had put up. And then what happened? Ganga, whenever a baby was born, she would pick the newborn baby and drown it in a river. She did that for the first child, and it went on up to the 7th child, but Shantanu could not question her. When the 8th child was born and she was about to drown the baby in the river, Shantanu stopped her, saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Why are you killing my babies?" We are not conditioned to think about the pain that Shantanu might have gone through the whole ordeal as a father, his alienation with his kids. Ganga left him because he had broken his promise. He went ahead and wanted to get married again. He found a fisherwoman with whom he wanted to marry. She again put a condition that all his inheritance, all his kingdom should go to her children. Only then she will get married. The point I want to make through this is, it is not necessary that the people who are controlling the finances, people who are controlling the economy, need necessarily be in a position to make decisions in genderized relationships. This thought was there in those times, it is there even now. If we talk about current setup of men and their situation in the society, I would like to go through few parameters to measure the situation of men. Those are life expectancy, unnatural deaths, suicides, homelessness, and education. If we go through the life expectancy graph, it shows that men die sooner than women. The average life expectancy for men is 62 years compared to that of women of 65 years. In cases of communicable diseases, in cases of cancer deaths, cardiovascular diseases, injuries, intentional injuries, men are more prone to die because of these reasons compared to women. We are not even talking about combat deaths or accidents. This is also a legacy of the patriarchal system that we call. Somewhere the role of being protector, provider carries over through this also. If we talk about the suicide statistics, almost twice the number of married men commit suicide as compared to women. As the age progresses, the difference, the ratio between men and women committing suicides increases. Above 45 years, it almost triples. If we consider the reason of suicides, we might feel that men commit suicide because of financial reasons, but when we study it, it is found that only 2% of men commit suicide because of finance or economic reasons. Major chunk, 24%, are because of family issues, 23% are because of illnesses. We have never thought about this or ignored this, thinking that men might not need any support at all. At the same reciprocative level, men think that they don't have any help, no forum to share their issues. That's why they think suicide is a solution. If we talk about homelessness amongst men, the role of protector provider, again, the role of earning a livelihood makes them leave their place, go out and earn anyhow. The national average is about 1.5 times more men are homeless as compared to women. In the urban areas, it is worse. Almost twice the number of men are homeless as compared to women. Have we ever thought about this from a gender perspective? If we talk about education, already more number of women are graduating from our schools and colleges. There are more number of postgraduates coming out of our universities. That brings us to the question, what are the boys doing? Even in rural areas, more number of women are graduating out of colleges and universities in absolute percentages. When we check out what the boys are doing, this one particular study by the Human Resource Development Ministry says that more number of boys are dropping out of schools than girls. The reason is most of them have to earn a livelihood for their families, so they have to leave their towns and villages. If we talk about the child labor, statistics for the child labor show that almost 6 times more boys are employed as child labor as compared to girls. We have rightfully Ladli Lakshmi Yojanas, Kishori Kanya Yojanas, and all those Yojanas for the girl child. Why can't we have Ladla Lakshman, Kishore Kumar Yojanas for these boys as well, looking at it from a gender perspective? We think that they will not need any help because this is a patriarchal system. Men are stronger, women are weaker, men don't need any support. Now, modernity has given women the option of being a caretaker or a provider, but men still don't have that option. We have not been modern enough. And if we have to go towards gender equality, we'll have to take this step. Talking about crimes, I would just like you to visualize a criminal, and please visualize a victim. Who is the criminal? Criminal generally is a man from lower economic background, and the victim is a young lady. That is because of the societal discourse that we have, which tells us this thing. But if we look at the statistics, then in cases of murder, in cases of attempt to murder, overwhelming percentage of victims of these crimes are men. If we consider the kind of criminals that we are having in our society now, in cases of murder, attempt to murder, dacoity, robbery, cheating, fraud, there are more number of female criminals coming up. Still, our mindsets are attached to the notion that, okay, men are more violent, more criminal. The same thing goes to say when we are talking about patriarchy. What is the system that we are living in? We call it as the master-slave system, domination and subordination. This aspect about patriarchy is, consider if there are risks, there is any danger, there is an attack by an army, another person or an animal, who is the one who goes ahead to face those risks? It's the men. In a master-slave system, the slave would be expected to go ahead and face risks so that they can protect the masters, isn't it? So can we say somewhere that the system that we call as patriarchy enslaves men as protectors, providers? The same thought goes when we form our laws. About the laws, we have a plethora of gender-biased laws which do not help men in any way. There is this famous case of 498A, misuse. 250,000 people were arrested even the last year, in spite of Supreme Court calling it legal terrorism and we having so many directives to stop this misuse. A 2-month-old baby has been arrested for dowry harassment, even in Mumbai, and these are not isolated cases. Then there is this 497, the adultery law. Women are not considered to be adulterers in any case, or even if they are, then they are not ought to be punished. And we say we want to be gender equal society, then we need to change these things first. Only the husband or the paramour can be arrested or punished under adultery laws. If we talk about child custody, we have a judge famously saying that he has never seen a calf go with a bull, it always goes with a cow. That's why the custody of children should go to mother. 95% of the times mothers have the custody and fathers are reduced to only visitors or fortnightly visitors. If we talk about any molestation or sexual harassment at workplace cases, every disagreement, every argument, any discussion which might not be conducive to an amicable result has got the potential to become molestation or a sexual harassment at workplace case. We already have people talking about how these laws have spoiled the gender relations in an office environment. Then if we talk about rape laws, the rape laws have been modified and there have been a barrage of reports which say that the rape laws are being misused. 70% of those can be categorized as something called as vengeance complaints. Most of the times, most of the cases, it is that the family of the girl files a case against a boy wherein the couple has eloped. There are so many cases wherein after the breakdown of a relationship, after the breakup, the girl goes ahead and files a case of rape under the category that intercourse was held under false pretext of marriage. Most of the times, these cases end up as extortion tools, nothing else. And this has been acknowledged by various groups, various ministries as well. The acquittal rate in that clearly shows about it. If we talk about one particular case, this is a case of Gopal Shetty. He was wrongly jailed. He spent 7 years in jail. After that, the High Court acquitted him of his charges. Meanwhile, what happened? His wife remarried. His children were put in an orphanage. His father passed away. His mother had to return to the village because she did not have any support. His whole world came crashing down because of the zeal of an officer that some man should be arrested and put behind bars, and we don't have a redressal system wherein men can come out and share their issues as well. If we talk about the general discourse in our society, currently there is a false notion that marital rape is not criminalized in India. In the cases of domestic violence, even name calling is criminalized. A wife can go ahead and ask relief from the courts, getting residential and restraining orders against the husband. Then how can in such a country not have any law against marital rape? The fact is, Protection of Women Against Domestic Violence Act penalizes a husband, gives relief to the woman even for sexual abuse. It also includes economical and emotional abuse, and sexual abuse is also there. So there is not really any condition that we don't have a law for marital rape. Why there cannot be a special law for marital rape apart from this is because every broken marriage currently has got the potential to become a dowry harassment case. That's what we see when 90% of acquittals or settlements happen, and the conviction rate is so low in dowry harassment cases. If this law comes, every other broken marriage has got the potential to become a rape case. When talking about rape, we forget one particular aspect of rape, which is male rape. Now, talking about again Mahabharata, there was one instance when Arjuna was intoxicated and the Naga princess Ulupi had intercourse with him, and then they got married. She did that because he had refused to marry her. Wasn't that male rape? Men are conditioned to hide their weaknesses. It is very tough for a man to come out and say that anything of this sort has happened to him. We still, in spite of this, we keep on getting cases from all over the country: Delhi, Jharkhand, Indore, Kochi, Mumbai. This is the latest case of in Delhi. This particular man, he was an auto driver. Consider this: do we have the sensitivity to hide the identity of a male rape victim? He is made the subject of mockery and ridicule. Why then any man would come out and want to share his experience with us? Why we don't know about all these things? The question comes, if all this is happening, why don't we know about it? The fact is, our mindsets which are conditioned to say that men don't need all these things, men don't have any issues, the same mindset goes on when we are having our surveys and studies done. When the National Family Health Survey goes out, it has two separate questionnaires for men and women. For men, the questionnaire goes from a point of view of perpetrator. For women, the questionnaire is from a point of view of victim. Then how ever we will ever know what is happening with men as victims? This is not a race to the bottom. It is only about highlighting the reality. If we want to go towards gender equality, then these things have to be worked upon. About domestic violence cases, there are so many instances when husbands come to us and tell that he is going through a lot of abuse, but he is staying with this wife only because of the children. But he is buying peace somehow and continuing the marriage. But he is just going through the domestic abuse without any recourse. There is no legal recourse for them. We as men's rights activists are trying to fight all these things. We are trying to highlight all these aspects, and we just had a national meet just last Sunday, and these were about 200 men's rights activists gathered from all over the country. We are fighting for these laws, and we will need the help of the society as well. To end this, I would like to point out one thing. Whenever we talk about women, we never think about it as being anti-men. So if we talk about men, it should not be considered as being anti-women also.